Hello, Oscar.
Hello.
We have returned from log absence. Welcome, viewers, to the, I suppose, technically first true episode of The Sting of Time has... sorry. Wait, let me redo that off. Somehow the Sting of Time has returned.
Somehow. Nobody knows how.
Yes.
There will be no explanation, no elaboration.
Or just the Sting of Time episode 54.
Yeah.
Today, we'll be doing the first matchup. These have been randomly wheel spun out of the bracket, which you will be able to see on screen now. I don't have to do a pause in real life because I can just do it virtually. No. And we have landed upon the first randomly selected matchup, which is The Force Unleashed 2. Sorry, Star Wars The Force Unleashed 2 and Star Wars Racer Revenge. It should be noted here that we played some of these games quite a long time ago.
Yes, a very long time ago.
Yeah, and far, far away. It wasn't here.
No.
And to help us, the future us, the now us, the then us have done something to help the now us, which is that we have written reviews for every game after they were played. Both of these reviews were technically written by me, though they've been translated because I was the pilot for both Racer Revenge and Force Unleashed 2. Though you were with me every second of the way.
Absolutely.
And I figured we could talk a bit about each game, starting with the review of the game. Or maybe ending with the review. Maybe that's better.
Yeah, maybe we should just talk a bit about the games first.
So, which one do you feel like talking about first?
I feel like we should talk about Racer Revenge first. Because I feel that it feels like a worthy first game to cover, and also because I remember very little about it.
It is interesting to have this matchup first because it's Force Unleashed 2 and the follow-up to Episode 1 Racer.
Yes.
Which is the one game people know about.
Exactly. I don't think nobody knows Racer Revenge exists. People watching this think we are talking about Episode 1 Racer.
We are not.
We are not. We're a completely different game.
Yeah, the PlayStation 2, GameCube follow-up Racer Revenge. Which it's almost a remake of Episode 1 Racer.
Yeah, it's like for its time, like a next-gen remake of like the Episode 1 Racer, which was for N64 and
PC.
And PC, exactly.
Maybe Dreamcast as well, I don't know.
Yeah, but nobody knows where Dreamcast is. And I don't know. They've kind of blurred together a bit for me because I played Episode 1 Racer.
Yeah.
But I think we felt it was a rather huge downgrade from Episode 1 Racer.
Yeah.
In a lot of fields.
It's definitely something that showed up when I read the review for it, which we wrote. And that a big part of... This is kind of weird doing this in an odd chronology, but when we get to Episode 1 Racer, one thing that we liked about that is how the game is very immersive. Like
a hugely immersive game. You have the things like hanging out in the garage or whatever, and
the cantina.
Yeah, there's lots of characters walking around. Every menu feels like you're in the world.
Yeah.
It's not just here's menu 1, menu 2, start racing. Now this is pod racing, all that kind of stuff. It feels like you're really there.
Yeah, and the upgrade system for your pod racer is like you talk with Watto and you get like tuner parts.
Yeah.
It's not just upgrade a bar, you know?
No.
I get positives for Racer Revenge because Racer Revenge is really weird as well because it takes place chronologically after Episode 2, I think, or maybe like pre-episode. It's around Episode 2.
Yeah.
So Anakin is a Padawan And the Racer Revenge here refers to Sebulba wanting revenge on Anakin. So you're playing as Anakin from episode 2. He's adult-ish Anakin.
Which is really weird.
Yeah,
it's super weird that, you know, I guess I'm going back to pod racing, or like it's completely nonsensical. So
it's really weird. And why would he do it? Especially, well, I don't know, maybe Shmi, if Shmi isn't dead, then it's also really weird, because then that means that Anakin went back to Tatooine and didn't meet up with his mom.
There are a lot of narrative potholes here.
The game was developed by a studio called Rainbow Studios, who have basically only done motocross versus ATV game. That's their series, MX versus ATV. And they did this and flopped immensely. I would say the gameplay is just eeringly similar to Episode 1 Racer. It's basically the same game.
It feels like just the same game, but worse.
Yeah, more or less. It's less immersive. It does have some things that are super goofy, that are sort of funny. In that it has a bunch of hidden characters. You can play as Darth Vader.
Oh yeah, I remember now. Yeah, the hidden characters. You could play like a TIE fighter themed.
Darth Vader.
Yeah,
you can also play Darth Maul, I think.
Yeah.
And it has. I don't know
dead?
if you remember this, but it has ending cutscenes for the characters. So there's an ending cutscene for Darth Vader, which is really funny.
Yeah, that was the highlight.
Yeah,
by far of the game. Now I'm remembering.
And I think it was at this point we coined, because we become sort of amateur Star Wars game historians.
Yes,
from this.
That is our title. Absolutely.
We have coined a couple of terms, academic terms,
like overarching terms for certain eras.
I think there's the era Star Wars, which is basically up until, I guess, sort of the just after the release of Episode 1.
Yes,
I'd say that's Star Wars.
That's Star Wars.
And Star Wars is characterized by being Star Wars.
Yes,
that's it.
Star Wars is Star Wars.
Yes. After Star Wars comes McDonald's Star Wars.
Yes.
And Racer Revenge is firmly in the McDonald's Star Wars era, which is like the TIE Fighter, Darth Vader, pod racer.
Yes, like Star Wars. The narrative of the narrative essence of Star Wars is nowhere to be seen in these Star Wars products. It's a toy.
Yeah, it's a print on a mug that you throw away.
Exactly.
After McDonald's Star Wars comes Disney Star Wars, which is Disney Star Wars.
Yes.
Maybe we'll get into that later. And I should add as well, stuff like The Force Unleashed, which we'll get to in a bit. That's also McDonald's Star Wars.
It's the same thing.
But after Disney Star Wars, you have Mongolian Star Wars.
Mongolian Star Wars.
Which is, I guess, Fallen Order and...
Fallen Order, stuff like Andor.
Andor is firmly in Mongolian Star
Andor
Wars.
is peak Mongolian Star Wars. Rogue One as well.
Yes,
definitely
absolutely.
Mongolian Star Wars. Do you feel like we should elaborate on what it means to be Mongolian Star Wars, or will that?
We'll get to that.
Yes,
get to that.
That will become apparent.
So right now we have a matchup of two McDonald's Star Wars games. Force Unleashed 2, thoughts?
Force Unleashed 2 is the sequel to Force Unleashed 1, and it should be noted that you played both Force Unleashed games, and the sequel, what I remember from it distinctly is terrible level design and boss fights.
Yeah.
And I feel I want to keep it kind of brief, because I don't want to go too early on too big of a rant about how the narrative of Star Wars gets completely butchered by each of these horrible games. But the story, of course, nonsensical. What I remember distinctly is something like Star Killer, for people that haven't played Force Unleashed 2. Both Force Unleashed 1 and Force Unleashed 2 is a game where you play as Darth Vader's secret apprentice.
Yes.
First name secret, last name apprentice. And the gimmick or like the theme or whatever of the game is that this guy is super powerful. He's like one of the strongest Force.
He is the Force Unleashed.
Yes, he is the Force Unleashed, and the game is supposed. The point of the game is that you have very powerful Force powers. You know, push a million guys into a wall, huh?
You can spin people.
Yeah,
you can pick them up. And
exactly, and shoot lightning storms everywhere, pull down Star Destroyers, all the kind of terrible things I don't like, and. In the first, we'll get to the first game. We're talking about the second game now. Yes, talk about the second game.
Both developed by LucasArts. These are in-house LucasArts games.
Exactly. You cannot blame like this. This is made by
this isn't made by MX versus
LucasArts were the GOAT, my dude. They made so many great games. All these other devs are trash. This is LucasArts.
Yes.
This is like peak LucasArts.
Yeah, George Lucas was involved in both of these games. Should also be noted, Force Unleashed 2 was developed in 10 months.
I believe that. I can believe that. But yeah, I remember we're gonna get like to the review later, which have more accurately historically documented opinions.
Yes.
But as of right now, what I remember most from the game is, like I said, the horrible boss fights, which were like hugely unfun, grindy health sponge, like weird gimmicks, weird animations, weird arenas. Like there's a level in the game where you fight Darth Vader, like in a boss, like an extended like arena kind of level, and you jump around on these giant like floating circular platforms, and then you fight Vader. You like push him off, or he pushes you off. Who cares? Go to another circular arena. It just keeps going and going and going, and you're thinking like, where is this place?
Yeah.
Like
it's a cloning facility on Camino.
Yeah, and
what, are you dumb?
Yes, I have become dumb after this.
I think one thing that is that characterizes both Force Unleashed games for me, so this will be recurring once we get to Force Unleashed 1, is this. I feel like this might be the first true rendition of the sort of the Nerf bat, or
absolutely, like the fall of the lightsaber as a video game weapon.
It's just a beat stick.
Yes. And instead of it being like this one-off, like, whoa, isn't it silly how they made a lightsaber? It's whatever. The focus is on the Force, like that. But first of all, it's not, and you definitely use lightsaber a lot in the game. But also, secondly, it instead became the norm to have this sort of lightsaber in a game.
Exactly.
And like in the movies as well, it became like this. Like in the Disney movies, every lightsaber is just like a beat stick as well.
But it's insanely prevalent in these games. And it's obvious that they just didn't want people to use the lightsabers much.
Yeah.
But it's kind of weird. Just don't give him a lightsaber.
Yeah, leave it out. Instead of like we gave him a bad lightsaber as a joke.
Why don't we read the reviews for these games?
Yes.
We'll pick. This is what we'll do, and this will be recurring for every episode. We'll pick a loser or a winner, which will move on in the bracket, and we'll talk more about the loser, because the loser will not return. So that's the format here.
They will definitely not return. They will not somehow return.
No, they are somehow gone.
Yes.
Do you want to start by reading the review, the translated review of Star Wars: The Force Unleashed 2?
The translated review of Force Unleashed 2. Goes as follows, and I shall read this verbatim. No one can clone a Jedi. The big deal was absolute garbage. LucasArts cannot design boss fights at all. Vader boss fight directly imported from Super Star Wars. Dude, Yoda? Dead cave? Why was Boba Fett in the game? All the new enemy types were Halo 4 Promethean levels of garbage, uninspired trash. Is there no move list? Many question marks. Where do all these Sith acolytes and saber masters come from? Perhaps the cave of Dagobah? Nice city? I wonder where people live in these mile-wide walkways and rooms that fit one person because of the giant orb in the middle. And in closing, stop shooting the Death Star laser.
Yes.
And I'd like to, just on this particularly last one, I feel like the rest of the review completely speaks for itself.
Yes,
I don't need to elaborate on anything. But the last one, stop shooting the Death Star laser, brings me back to, there's a level in the game that takes place on the Death Star, and it is insane, and not like in a fun or good way. No. It's insanely stupid and bad.
It also looks like a Devil May Cry level.
Yes, because
it doesn't look like the Death Star.
Like the level, this section of the level is like a weird gauntlet or whatever, where you go between like sections of, I guess, like the barrel of the Death Star laser, and as you're going through this, you're like fighting enemies in like the weird industrial sections of that place. And as you're going through this level, the Death Star is like on auto fire, firing the laser, and you have to, watch out, the laser's firing, duck down here, or go behind the wall thing, and it's like the Death Star blew up all around with like zap, it's gone, and this one is like it's fucking like contact. Just is it destroying the entire universe here? like I don't even remember if there's a fleet. It's probably like a rebel fleet or whatever, or some ships. But it's like it's just firing like at an interval of like 10 seconds per shot.
I can't even remember. Isn't that from The Force Unleashed 1?
Well, who gives a shit? I mean,
I can't remember.
It's the same thing. It's in the Force Unleashed 2 review, at least. So
you should also add that the big deal is a Google translation of the big thing.
Yes, the big thing. I changed it to the big deal because I thought that was more accurate.
Okay,
but we can agree to disagree.
Yes. Here comes the review for Razor Revenge. The premise of Razor Revenge is that Sebulba is looking for, wait for it, revenge on Anakin for beating him in the Boonta's Eve race. Cue extremely fucking weird episode 2 Padawan Anakin jumping back into pod racing for some fucking reason. Star Wars Razor Revenge is an exact duplicate of Star Wars Episode 1 Razor, but worse in every possible way. It does garner some points, seeing as Dude Bolt returns though. It has a cool character select. It's mega shit that they tossed all the immersive menus. The game has exactly one screen that isn't a, quote, ordinary menu selection. There are no pod racer parts, there's no Star Wars cantina, there's nothing. Where the fuck is Watto's repair shop? It's baffling that Tournament, aka the single player mode, isn't at the top of the menu screen. The racing is still the same pod racing. Boost heat and damage to your pods. Based Darth Vader that just wins the championship and gets the trophy and the girl, which is crossed over. He doesn't get the girl.
No.
The girl is dead. It's fun enough, but very McDonald's Star Wars.
That makes me... Was this game what coined the McDonald's Star? Yes, that makes sense.
The McDonald's Star Wars came from this.
Yes.
I'm going to say that I have a clear winner and loser here. But why don't you tell me who you think wins and loses? And I'll see if I'm arguing.
Well, I'll be completely honest. I'm not sure if we will pick the same one. That's fine. But for me, I feel it's also immensely clear which one should win. And for me, it's Razor Revenge.
You want Razor Revenge to go on?
Yes.
Yes, I agree with you.
Yes. Because The Force Unleashed 2 is an awful game. It's terrible on all levels. Like,
I'll say this. There are positive parts to Force Unleashed 2. There aren't many of them. Most of them also are probably better in Force Unleashed 1. It's still fun to pick up characters, force lighting them, and spin them. That's fun. The game is made more fun by the fact that you can just switch and not be Starkiller.
Yes, that was a fun aspect.
We played a lot of the game as Dooku and as Ben Kenobi.
Yes, like old Obi-Wan.
Yeah, Ben Kenobi,
exactly.
I've written down notes on my notes here because I was rifling through my memories.
Yes.
Of
I don't have any notes because I am like that.
Yeah. The game has an insane amount of quick time events.
Yes.
Every time you kill something that is bigger than a stormtrooper, which happens a lot, there are about as many new McDonald's tier Imperial Walkers as there are stormtroopers. You have to do like 4-button press mashing quick time.
Yes, and it's the only way to kill them.
Yes.
Like it's not like, oh, you can choose to do the finisher, or if you don't, they just die of cringe or whatever. It's forced upon you.
Yeah, it's trash. Starkiller is a horrible character.
Yes, awful.
He's obviously not the same Starkiller as in the first game because he dies at the end of that.
Yes.
Darth Vader just keeps cloning him.
And I can say that in the review, how no one can clone a Jedi is a reference to how in every game everyone just keeps trying to clone Jedi, and it always goes horrible. But we'll get to a very special game eventually where this is prevalent.
Yes, perhaps a key aspect.
Yes.
As the person who played this game, I think something that is super weird about the Force Unleashed games to me, and I can perhaps guess at the reasoning behind it, but as character action games, the camera is zoomed way the fuck out.
Yes.
It's super zoomed out. The distances are insanely large. So all the locales are either like, okay, you can be inside of... In the first game, you're inside the TIE fighter manufacturing plant. That sort of works. I can get that this is a giant fuck-off Star Wars place.
Yes.
But as hinted in the review, you get the thing where it's like, oh, this is supposed to be a city, but it's just made up of like...
Specifically, isn't it like it's like the Nemodian city, like the dudes from the Trade Federation, like exactly. This is their home planet or something like that.
And it's like they live in small, open-air, circular conference rooms that are all tied together by highway-size walkways.
Yes.
And this is sort of repeated in every section of the game. Everything is actually the same level.
Yes.
It's a bit like tile sets. It's like a Sonic game.
Yeah. That's a very apt description. It's like one of those like horrible 3D Sonic games who only weirdos like.
Yeah.
It feels like this takes place in the same setting as those games.
Exactly. Sonic is around the corner.
Yes.
The game is super short though, which is both good and bad. The bad part of it is that, or I guess it's just good, but the pacing is super weird. You spend perhaps the majority of the game on the I think it might be on the Nemodian planet, fighting a giant thing called a Gorog.
Oh yeah, I remember that now. Yeah.
I don't know. On the Nemodian planet, you fight like a gunship, but you fight this giant.
Well, there's always some giant thing.
It's basically you think you're gonna fight Rancor, and then the Rancor is the food for the Gorog.
Yeah, who looks like some weird, I don't know, like Warhammer demon.
He looks like a fucking Earth Defense Force enemy.
Yeah, that's true.
And you fight it in an arena, and then you're like, oh, I killed its life bar. Then it regenerates life bar, and you fight it in another arena. And then there's one of those like horrible a late 2000s, early 2010s falling sequence, which was in every fucking game. Batman, Space Marine, this game. Fuck falling sequences.
Yes, I don't want to fall in video games.
Yeah, if I have to fall, I also don't want to have the thing where we're like, oh, we're two guys falling, and we grapple a bit, and then we somehow fall less fast.
Yeah.
And then I have to catch up. Like, what is that? And none of the locales, because we'll probably talk about this more when Razor Revenge returns. But I am personally a fan of new locales in Star Wars. I like that.
Yeah.
But these new locales do not feel at all like Star Wars.
No. Like something that we complain a lot about over the course of all this is that, you know, in Star Wars, you always go back to Tatooine. You always go back to Hoth. Or actually not always, but whatever. But it's always like, dude, we're Tatooine again. Every new horrible TV show is on Tatooine. Everything is on Tatooine. So it's nice that, you know, to be in new places.
Yeah.
But not when those new places feel like there's nothing Star Wars about this. This is like somebody's fan fiction that they put into and just called it Star Wars. But this is totally a part of Star Wars, you guys. And I hate it.
Yeah.
Star Wars has themes. It has visual identity.
Yes.
No matter how people try to gaslight their own not
also, I think perhaps some of these places could work as a locale if they were designed to not look just like a Nintendo 64 platformer level.
Yeah, like a fucking Donkey Kong 64 level.
Yeah.
It's awful.
Yeah, so Razor Revenge moves on. Might be a good game. We'll see. But Star Wars The Force Unleashed 2 is decidedly not a good game.
It's not. Definitely not a good game. And if you think it's a good game, you are wrong. Simply.
Galen also in Swedish means crazy.
Yes.